as we did with all the money generated by the production. Ghetto Life 101 was translated into several languages and broadcast worldwide. Jump ahead a couple of years. The boys and I remained close, talking on the phone several times a week. One evening in October 1994, I got a call from Lee Allen. "A little shorty just fell out a window behind my house." A day later, I saw the story in the New York Times. 5-year-old Eric Morse was dropped out of a 14th floor window in the I.W. Wells by 2 other boys, 10 and 11 years old. Lee Allen, Lloyd, and I talked about the incident. We hadn't intended to collaborate on another radio documentary, but this seemed like a particularly important and appropriate story for the boys to cover. After kicking it around for a couple of months, we decided to go ahead with the piece. Lee Allen and Lloyd spent about a year recording the story through most of 1995. Over the course of their investigations, they became the nation's experts on a tragedy which made headlines across the country when the 2 boys convicted of the crime became the youngest kids ever sentenced to prison in this country. Lee Allen and Lloyd named this documentary Remorse, the 14 Stories of Eric Morse. They decided to score this piece with jazz music instead of rap, as with Ghetto Life. Maturing sensibilities, explained Lee Allen. And we enlisted the help of the great alto saxophonist Frank Morgan. When Morgan released his debut album introducing Frank Morgan in 1955, he was hailed as the next Charlie Parker. Soon after, a heroin addiction landed Morgan in the penitentiary, where he spent most of the next 30 years. Morgan was assumed dead by most jazz fans until mid-1980s, when he straightened out and began recording again. Since 1985, Morgan has put out a dozen first-rate albums. We were inspired by Morgan's story and felt his work appropriate to score Remorse. The documentary premiered on All Things Considered in March of 1996. It was the first hour-long feature broadcast on the show since 1981. Listener response was overwhelming. Lee Allen was 16 and Lloyd had just turned 17 when it aired.